Good morning. We're so glad everybody could join the hangout. Agriculture produces the house you live in, the chair you sit on, the clothes you wear, the food you eat, and the job where you work. We'd like to welcome you today to the Farm Bureau Farmtastic Adventures with Pork Google Hangout. My name is Jennifer Keller, and I'm the Director of Marketing and Education for the Ohio Pork Council, and I'm your host for today's Hangout. We're all so excited that you're taking the time to come, so thank you very much. We'd also like to welcome Michelle Specht, who's an Organization Director for the Ohio Farm Bureau from Tuscarawas County, Jennifer Barnett, and she's been very great at coordinating everybody, getting us all hooked up. She is the office administrator for the Jefferson County Farm Bureau, who's our official tech coordinator. And our guest expert, Dr. Terry Specht, a swine farmer and veterinarian from Chickasaw in Mercer County. Let's welcome all of our classrooms and teachers to the Google Hangout today. When I recognize your classroom, please give us a wave so we know where you are. Ms. Chronister's 6th through 8th grade class. Do we have Ms. Chronister?
We do have them, but they are having connection problems, so we're hoping that they'll pop back in.
All right, from Sandy Valley School, we have Ms. Blackford's 5th grade class. You have a wave? Oh, good, good. Mr. Hawks, 5th, very good. Can Mr. Hawks' class wave to us, or doesn't look like they might have video?
Mr. Hawk's class is rebooting. They'll be with us shortly.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Marshall's class. You have a wave from Ms. Marshall's class? Great.
Okay.
Good morning. Mr. Baum's 5th grade class.
Where is my room at?
Is Mr. Baum on the line? Good morning. And finally, Ms. Adams' 5th grade class from Winchester Trail in Franklin County. Hey, we've got some excitement. Great, great. Now we'll turn it over to Dr. Speck. Good morning, guys. We'll turn it over to Dr. Speck, who will talk about what farmers and veterinarians do to care for pigs.
Jennifer, can you hear me?
Yes,
Okay.
we can now.
So what? Good. So who's excited about today? So a little bit about myself. I actually grew up on a farm as well, but many of my classmates in veterinary school, they did not. And so you can do many things if you're not from a local area of farming, but what I recommend is
It appears that Dr. Speck has frozen up, so Jennifer, if you want to continue on, and then we can come back to her if she gets connected back in.
Sure, it looks like she's back.
Oh, there she is. Okay.
can you guys hear me again?
Wait, just for a moment, we heard that you,
Okay.
we heard you say that you grew up on a farm, but not everyone in your class in your at veterinary school grew up on a farm. That's about how much we heard.
Okay, so what I've done today is I'm at a farm where I service this as a veterinarian, I walk through this barn about every month. So these animals actually are taken care of. We come to these barns about every month, and that's probably even more than you guys go to the doctor. So we're really, really adamant about taking care and providing good health for these pigs. And so what I've done is I worked as a mixed animal practitioner, which means that I did a little bit of large animal, dairy, beef cattle, and also some small animal for about 3 years. And now I work mainly with swine, which is pigs. And what I'm at right now is a sow unit. Does anybody know what a sow unit means, or what is a sow?
I bet a sow is a female pig.
So that's correct, Michelle. So a sow is a mother pig that's had little babies, and little babies are called piglets. And so this is where those little piglets are born. They're born in a nice, warm environment. So you guys don't like to be outside in the cold very long. And so all these barns are set at a certain degree. It stays about 68 to 70 degrees in here, which is a little bit cold for the baby piglets. And so what they do with the baby piglets is we make what's called a little environment just for them when they're born, and that's underneath a heat lamp. And so I'm inside a barn today, so I can show you all that, but it'll be a little bit noisy when I go in. So if we have any questions, I'll probably try to answer them outside in this hallway before I go into the room where the baby pigs are.
Are there any questions for Terry before Dr. Speck before she goes inside of the barn? I see a hand. I think that's a Sandy Valley class.
Yes, it is.
What's your question?
My question is. My question is that what happens whenever the baby pigs grow up?
You hear Dr. Speck? What happens when the baby pigs grow up?
When the baby pigs grow up, they go into different areas. They go into different houses, so to speak, and each house is having owners in there that take specific care of them during their certain life stage. So after this, they go into what's called a nursery. And a nursery is just like a little baby piglet, and they're fed daily. They're fed multiple times a day because they're going from what they drink on their mom, which is milk, and so we have to transition them, which means move them real slowly into their normal diet, which is mainly made up of corn and soybeans. So what you guys see in the fields as you're riding the bus to school, all those crops are harvested, and these piglets eat them, and they grow up and become about 250 pounds. So they become pretty big by the time they go to, sometimes they'll get processed as far as into what we eat. So these animals are very well kept and very well maintained, and then they provide us a healthy food.
I brought along a sample of feed, and I bet when Dr. Speck gets in the room, she can show you how the pigs actually eat. But right here, this is corn on this side. This is soybeans. And then you grind the two up and mix them together, and this is the feed that maybe we'll have the chance to see when Dr. Speck gets in the room.
Are you guys all ready to see some baby pigs?
Yes.
Yes, that's great.
Okay, I'm going to turn the camera around, and then that way it'll be just a little bit noisy because we're going to disturb the mamas a little bit. Right now what they're doing is they're laying down, and you will see that they're individually, so they're side by side. And the reason that we do that is these little piglets are born, and when they're born, they're only about 4 pounds. and their mother weighs about 400 pounds. And so we must protect those piglets from the mother just because she has so many. Sows, does anybody know how many, and I'll tell you, how many sows, piglets are born per time? So your mother usually had maybe one baby. Cows usually have one baby, sometimes twins or two. These mothers end up having between about 13 and 15 piglets each time. And so they're really small when they're born, and we have to make sure that the mother, since she has so many, it's hard for her to know where they're at. And so this protects them, and that way she doesn't accidentally happen to lay on one without knowing it. So we'll go inside here, the barn, and everybody will be really quiet. So these are the little piglets, and they're nice and warm. That right here is a heat lamp, and then they get to lay on this little mat and play with each other just as your brothers and sisters play with you. And then their mother is up here eating, and I'll show you the feed that she's eating right now. Looks very similar to what Jennifer just showed you. And this is where she drinks her water. We want to make sure there's good water pressure so she has enough water. There's one down below so the little piglets can start drinking water too.
Dr. Specht, can you go back to the water and just hold it there for a moment? The video is kind of delayed. So if you can go real slow. See the drinking fountain, guys? Look at that water coming out.
That's just like the drinking fountain you guys get to drink out at school.
Thank you.
And here's another little group of pigs. They're very alert, and they're interested in what I'm doing. See them? See that one watching us? And they stay really clean inside here too. There's not a lot of debris or anything on these piglets. Does anybody have any questions?
Dr. Specht, are you able to put your, are you using an iPad, like right in between the heat lamp and the back of the farrowing stall and just hold it there so we can watch the piglets move for a minute?
Yep.
Thank you. It's hard, it's great, the video, but if it can hold still, we might be able to see the pigs move a little bit more.
Sandy Valley has a question.
Great. What's your question, please?
Right, come up to the camera.
Why don't you let the pigs out?
Talk loud.
Why don't you let the pigs out of their cage?
The question was, why aren't the pigs out of their cage?
Is that how you make the bacon?
Did you hear Dr. Speck? Would you like me to reiterate what you shared earlier, or do you want to take this one?
Yeah, I missed that a little bit, Jennifer. Something about why they're where?
So the question, these are called farrowing stalls, and as Dr. Speck explained before going in, it's hard for her because she's got oinking in the background and stuff. But what these do, the mom pigs have different needs than the baby pigs. The mom pigs need it to be cooler. The baby pigs need a warmer temperature. So you see those are heat lamps. That bright light is a heat lamp, so that keeps baby pigs warmer and keeps the mama pig cooler. And as Dr. Speck explained, there's so many baby pigs that these special pens that the mothers stay in while they're nursing their babies help protect the babies and help keep the mom from laying down on any of them. So it's tricky. I was hoping maybe we could see the pigs a little bit more. There's not really this many bars when you see it. It's a little bit easier when you're in the barn, but it's tricky. The video is, Dr. Speck's doing a great job, but it's tricky to keep a good internet connection and stuff. So we're all learning about this. What other questions did you guys have in the classroom? There was another one. That's a great angle, Dr. Speck. We can see the pigs and see them nursing. That's a great view. What other questions there was another classroom, a young lady that raised her hand. And I'm sorry, I'm not sure the name of the room, but I see a hand.
Or if the teacher could type the question in, we could get it that way too.
Sure.
I'm Jordan from Mrs. Adams' class. My question is, how do you guys take care of your biosecurity?
The question, Dr. Specht, was how do you control biosecurity? So do you want to share what is biosecurity and then how you do that?
Yes, that's a great question. I will put it back on myself here. Can everybody see me now?
Yes.
So biosecurity, that's a big fancy word, and what that means is as a veterinarian and as farmers, we must protect the health of these animals. So I don't want to spread a disease from this barn to another barn. And so in order to do that, I practice what's called biosecurity. And if you look here, you can see that I'm in coveralls, and I also have gloves on. And a lot of these barns, I even have to shower in between. And a lot of times, I don't go from one barn to another. I schedule these barns so they are spread out throughout the week. And I start with the healthiest barn first on Mondays because I haven't been any pigs on Saturday and Sunday usually. And then that way I reduce that risk. And I'll flip the camera back here too. We've got what's called a foot bath in this room. And what these of this sow, they tramp in this foot bath, which has a disinfectant. And so they even reduce the spread of disease from room to room.
What is in that foot bath?
So what's in there, sometimes we use Clorox bleach, and other times we use what's called Synergized, which is a disinfectant that's made specifically for viruses. So we deal a lot with viruses in pigs. So if you guys get something called like the flu, you feel really bad, that's a virus. And so if you go to the doctor, a lot of times you have a really high fever, but the doctor can't do much. You kind of have to fight through it. And so we want to prevent the spread of these viruses from pig to pig. And in order to do that, we use these special products that are able to kill that. So and even when these pigs get loaded onto a truck, that truck is washed very, very cleanly. There's no excess. We use shavings, like wood shavings, on the trailers. And if there's even a little speck of wood shavings left in that trailer, it has to be re-washed because we don't want to spread anything from barn to barn.
So just like the cleaners I might use in my house or like on my kitchen counters, you just have special cleaners for the barns?
Yeah, sometimes people even use like the Lysol spray that maybe your mom and dad have at the house. That can even kill germs. In my truck, I actually use Clorox hand wipes and sanitizer wipes as well, and have that in my truck just to make sure I don't have anything back and forth. Before I came into this barn, let me turn the camera again. So this is not a shower in or shower out barn, but what I've done is I've put this boot on, which is specifically for the barn, and underneath here I have, you can see plastic boots coming up. So my shoe never touches the ground of the farm that I'm at. So I always have a protection layer, some sort of plastic layer. If you ever seen any hospitals, they'll have certain shoe covers on there, and we use that as well in order to protect the shoe from the barn.
Why?
So these
Why?
It sounds to me like you put a lot of extra effort into staying really clean. Even though you don't think you have any germs on you, you're still covering up just in case there's some that you don't know about.
Yeah, so germs are, they're kind of tricky because you can't see them. Just like when you guys go to school and things like that, the teachers stress to wash your hands. And that's one key thing in order to prevent giving your friend something. Maybe you have a little bit of a cold or something. Always wash your hands, and that's what we do here, is wash our hands and everything in between, sometimes even shower, and make sure we don't spread anything.
Are pigs more susceptible to disease than other animals?
They have more, they're not more susceptible, but the diseases that they do have are harder to fight because they're more what's called those viruses compared to what's called bacteria. And so bacteria, you can take what's called an antibiotic, and that can help cure them from that, where pigs have these viruses. They have both, but the viruses are the ones that hurt them the most, and so we want to protect them from those.
We may have to.
So
Okay.
what Dr. Speck does is she works with the farmers to do everything that they can to keep germs out of the barn. So she's not at the farm today because there's a problem. They're just going over biosecurity and making sure, just double checking that there's not a problem, right?
Correct. And so that's the most routine thing that I do is there's usually not problems, but we go through all the processes each month to make sure that there's not something that we're missing, and that we've got what's called vaccines. So a lot of times you even have to get, unfortunately, a shot before you go to school to protect you from certain things. And that's what we watch in these sow units and on these farms, is make sure that they're getting the timing and all those vaccines correctly to even help protect them even more.
Mrs. Blackford's class has a question. Why is bacon from pigs and not lambs?
So bacon is a specific cut of meat, and so it comes from actually the belly area. So on pigs, there's a ham, and there's also on cattle, that ham is called quarters. So it's just the name of the product. Lambs don't have as much what's called that belly. If you look at a lamb, they're kind of thin through that area, so they don't have as much product or as much meat down there compared to a pig. So that's where you get your tasty bacon.
Jennifer Keller, maybe we could start on questions from the classrooms.
Great.
And while we do that, another question is, do the mommy, let's see here. How do the baby pigs get washed? Do the mommies do it, or do the people?
These piglets actually stay clean, and so we don't give them baths. They just stay clean as they're going through, and so they don't need baths. They stay that clean. You saw how clean they were, and that's how they stay in these barns. We've got the barn set up, and so that they're not running around in all that manure as far as when they go to the bathroom. All that's kept away from them properly, and that way they stay clean as they were in these pens.
Is it because there's special flooring that allows the waste to drop underneath and be stored?
Yeah, there are. So as Jennifer points out, these barns are set up and so that the flooring has real tiny little slats, and I can go back in here and show you. But what happens is all that drops down into a storage area and is all hauled out then by the farmers onto the fields, and that makes their crops grow even better through the spring and summer times, and then they get to harvest them like you've seen maybe in the fields right now is harvest time, and that animals manure and everything comes from there and helps the crops grow even more. And so we're turning all that back in to help with food and stuff as well. So I can walk back in and show you this special flooring, and you'll just note there's real tiny little slats. You don't want them too big, and so there's no injuries of the piglets falling, their little feet falling down since they're so small. So let me show you that.
So that's a natural fertilizer.
Yeah, sure. I'll help explain while Dr. Speck's walking in. I grew up on a farm too, and it's amazing to me. These floors, the pigs really stay clean on their own, and it's hard to understand how they work, but they do. So this is pretty neat that we're going to get to see the flooring. And as was talked about, all of the manure has nitrogen, phosphorus, and potash in it, and those are three things that all plants need to grow. So look at that flooring, how about that? So the pigs can walk on it, they can stay standing up, but then any manure, water, waste can go underneath the barn and be stored there.
Okay, thank you.
So what we do with the manure is apply it to the fields, just like Dr. Speck said. We apply it to the fields, we grow corn or soybeans, we harvest the corn and soybeans, we feed it to the animals. They produce nutrients, which is just organic fertilizer. You apply it to the crops, harvest the crops, feed the animals, and the cycle continues. But fertilizer, farmers have to have fertilizer on their fields, so it's really important they know how much value there is in their manure, and they take very good care of it, and they want to get it on the field and not anywhere else because it's such a valuable resource.
Jared Hawk's classroom has a question. How many pigs usually fit in a pen?
So these pens, whatever the mother has typically stays with her. And so if she has 13 piglets, baby pigs, then those pigs stay with her. And that, in order to do that, then they all fit within there. And within this room that you were just in, there's about 36 females in there. And so there's a lot of little piglets within that whole room. And then they go into a nursery, and depending on the size of the barn, then that's when they'll get put together and then be able to play even more.
We've got how many pigs? I'm sorry, how many pigs are in that barn?
Total piglets within this barn are probably about 5,000.
But that's just itty bitty piglets, right? So they'll go when they're weaned and they transition from eating their mother's milk to solid food. They'll go to separate barns as they grow up. So
yeah,
when they
only
go ahead.
They only stay with their mother. They're old enough to be moved because they grow so fast. They move when they're only 3 weeks old, but they're the size that you're seeing them right now. They're about 15 pounds, and when they were born, they were only 5.
Mr. Baum's class. Oh, I'm so sorry, Terry.
No, you're okay.
Mr. Baum's class has a question. What do you do with a pig that has a virus?
So what you do with a pig that has a virus is you do tender, loving care. So pretty much if you're sick, you take care of yourself really well. Your mom brings you chicken noodle soup. And so these piglets have to stay hydrated, which means that they have to keep a lot of fluid. And so we have special medicine that helps them do that, something called like electrolytes that we can run through the water, something that you would drink like Gatorade. We can use that in pigs as well.
Another question is, two questions. How do pigs produce pork? And then another one is, how large can pigs get?
So how large pigs can get is what you're seeing with the mothers in here. And they weigh probably between 450 pounds to 500. That's how big. But when how pork is produced is that these animals then go to a place where they are gently taken off the trailer, and then we harvest, which means that we take that meat and turn that into a food that you buy at the grocery store, but it all comes directly from this farm where they're taken care of.
A question that we get a lot at the Pork Council office is, how fast do pigs grow? And I brought a little chart along. I'm not sure if you guys can see, it's really little at the top, and then the pigs grow and grow and grow. So at the top, a piglet weighs 2 to 3 pounds at birth, and then at 4 weeks is 15 to 20 pounds. At 8 weeks is 40 to 60 pounds, and at 6 months is 270 to 285 pounds.
Emily Adams' class has a question. Dakota from her class has a question.
How long does it take for you to check? How long does it take for you to check if the pigs are not injured, and if one of them are, how long does it? What do you do?
So when I go to this barn, I walk through where they're being born and make sure that they look okay. And then I also walk through what's called gestation. And what that means is that's where the mothers are waiting in order to come in and have their piglets. So I walk through there, and what I'm looking for is any signs of disease, like if they're coughing. They shouldn't be coughing at all. So if there's something that's coughing, that makes me alert that there might be something floating around that I need to check into. The other thing that I look for really heavily is something called body condition scoring. So I want to make sure that these mothers are in the right condition, not too heavy and not too thin, and that way they can have piglets more easily. And an easy way for me to test disease, a simple way that we can even have farmers do, is just like if you have strep throat, you might go to the doctor and they swab the back of your throat. What I can do with pigs is I can hang something like this rope, and piglets love to play with ropes. So what they do is they chew on this, and then I can test that. I pull the saliva out of here, and I test that, and I can find diseases from this simple little test.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, it's a very nice test and easy for farmers to do as well.
Would you guys want to squeeze the rope and get all the saliva out so you could test it? I wouldn't. I'm glad Dr. Speck does that job.
A question from Mr. Baum's class. Does a wild pig taste different than a caged pig?
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, they can taste a little bit different. I've never tasted them. They have more of if you've ever had like rabbit or some of those other wildlife type products, they can taste a little bit similar to that because they're raised out with, they have to survive kind of on their own, and so they'll eat more like grasses and things, where these pigs in here are fed a specific diet, and that way they produce the meat quality that we want them to.
Can I share? It's tricky with the video angles. The pigs aren't in cages. The reason that we call them, they're special pens for the moms to stay in while they're pregnant or nursing. And if you think about humans, we have different needs when we're pregnant or when we have a brand new baby than when we do when we're just growing. So once the pigs leave this barn, they'll be in open pens and not a cage type situation. So I just didn't know if anybody had questions about that or anything. This is a good time to ask. But it's so neat to get to see in the barn and see the pigs, but it's also much different to look through just a little video camera than it is to see, to be there and to see the whole barn and kind of get a feel. So if you have questions, please do ask.
Well, Jennifer, when I think about that, when a baby human is little, we put baby humans in baby beds that have sides up on them so the babies can't fall out or the babies can't get hurt. And it's the same way with pigs. Pigs, we have to protect our pigs, so we put them in places, in pens that protect them. So really, it's no different than a human baby.
And another thing for the moms, I think that's really important and something that we don't talk a lot about, but you need to see rather what helps Dr. Speck do her job and know how healthy the pigs are is when a mother pig or a sow is in an individual pen, you can see exactly how much food that she's eaten. And it's not a question of, well, is this one eating or not? If you have a big group, you have no idea how much each one is eating. So that's one of the immediate ways that a veterinarian and the farmer can tell if a pig's starting to get sick or might not be feeling well is, if there's feed that she hasn't eaten, you can know that. And these individual pens help you identify some of those. So we've got several questions that are popping up here on the side. I'll just list some of them, and you can take them in whatever order you'd like, Dr. Specht. At what age are babies weaned from their mothers and then drink water only? That's a question from Lexi. How many pigs do you raise a year is another question. And then what are different types of pigs? And then we've got classes that have hands up too. So I just read you the questions that have been typed in, and then maybe we can take questions from the video.
So these piglets, they are 3 weeks old, typically 3 to 4 weeks old, and then they go into what's called a nursery, where Michelle and Jennifer explained that they have more room in order to go into pens, and then they play with each other in there. But we have to be really careful. We still give them heat lamps there too, because we don't want them to get too cold. And so they go from there into that area. And then also,
that's when they start eating the solid feed?
Yes, that's when they start drinking milk, or they drink water, and we give them little pellets. They're real tiny little pellets, and sometimes even these in here, they'll give them some pellets, and that way they're used to that when they go to what's called a nursery. Just like when you guys, little babies, they go from a milk diet and start on a little bit of cereal. That's what we try to do with these little piglets as well.
What are different types of pigs? Are there certain times of year that pigs are slaughtered? How do you determine when a mama pig is pregnant?
So different types of pigs, there's different breeds. Just like cattle breeds, there's different breeds of pigs. And the way you can tell different breeds is sometimes by their color. Most of these are what's called Yorkshire. And so they have erect ears, which means the ears stand up instead of being floppy. You also will see something called Hampshire. And if you write these names down, maybe your teacher can look up some of the different breeds, and that way you can see. But a Yorkshire has a black body with a white belt around him. And there's also other ones, but for the most part, a lot of these are Yorkshire and Landrace.
How do you determine oh, I'm sorry, Terry.
No, go ahead, Michelle.
How do you determine when a mama pig is pregnant? That's from Shelby and Abby in Mrs. Marshall's class.
So that's pretty neat as well. We have ultrasounds, just like humans that go to the doctor and determine if they're pregnant. We use what's called an ultrasound, and we put that on the side, right down kind of in the where the leg kind of comes up, and we can look at their belly, and it just inside there, it tells us if those mothers are pregnant or not. And these pigs, it takes a mother, like a human, it takes them 9 months in order for you to have a baby. Pigs, it takes about 4 months.
How old do pigs get?
Pigs get about, as you were talking, Jennifer, with the chart you had as far as how much they weigh. A lot of these are 6 months. They get so big by that time because they grow so fast. These moms in here, a lot of them, they are about 7, 8 years old.
Thank you. Couple more questions. Why do pigs have viruses? And then Mr. Baum's class asked, what is the worst virus?
So unfortunately, why pigs have virus, it's just because even in the human medicine, people medicine, we have viruses too. And so we got to be careful and try to cause them to slow down, which we, as an industry, as working with a lot of veterinarians in Ohio and even other states, we work together to try to make sure that they don't spread. And it's just the unfortunate thing of the population and in general, just like in people, that they have viruses. One of the common ones that we find is something called PRRS or PD, and what that stands for is porcine, which means pig, reproductive and respiratory syndrome, and then the PD stands for porcine pig diarrhea. And so that's a virus that can cause pigs to get diarrhea. The good thing about these is that they do not spread or have any harm to people. We just make sure that they stay out of the pig population, and that way the meat and everything is healthy.
And pigs don't have viruses all the time, like Dr. Specs talked about. Her main job when visiting farms is just keeping pigs healthy, working with the farmers. How do you keep the pigs healthy so that you don't have to treat the virus? That's the goal of everybody that's raising pigs and supporting farmers like veterinarians.
Paige
Yeah,
from
I
Mrs.
try to prevent.
Sorry. Paige from Mrs. Adams' class has a question, and we probably are going to be winding down on questions, right, Jennifer?
I was just going to ask if this should be the last question. Paige, would you like to go ahead?
Yeah. What age do you kill pigs? What age do you kill pigs? Yeah, for bacon and ham.
So pigs, we would raise pigs to become pork, and that would happen when they're about 6 months old. I see one more hand. Is there time for one more from that class? From Mrs. Adams?
Can pigs get pregnant more than once?
Can pigs get pregnant more than once? And then we can take one last one popped up in the typing, and it's what is swine flu and how is it related to pigs? So hopefully we can wrap up in just a minute or two. We'll see what Dr. Speck has to share.
So how flu is related is that it is a disease that is just like in people can get flu as well. And so a lot of times it's just that the piglets get a high fever. They don't feel very well. And what we do to prevent anything going from either people or pigs, which is very rare for that to happen, but what employees are supposed to do is like I said, wear these gloves. Sometimes the other thing is I wear to protect myself. So a lot of times it's more that the people give sometimes diseases to pigs than the other way around. But as long as I've been doing this, which is close to 3 years, I've never been sick or anything like that from anything that I'm working with on the animals.
But Dr. Speck, is the swine flu related to pigs?
The swine flu technically is not related to pigs. It's in the human population, and so it's really tricky to kind of explain. It came in and it affected a little bit of some people and pigs, and so it got caught with the name of swine flu. But in general, it's just flu overall. It doesn't have to do with specifically people or pigs. It's just a flu virus. And there's a lot of different flu viruses. And so if you hear of yourself or your parents getting a vaccine for flu, that's really similar. We vaccinate pigs for flu as well. And Jennifer, I think there was one more question too, if you'd repeat that, or if you have more questions on flu.
And I'm sorry, I'd forgotten it too. Paige, what was your question again? Sorry, guys, this is for real. Last one. You just asked it, Paige.
It was pregnancy. If they can get pregnant more than once.
Very good. Thanks.
Yeah. Yes, they can get pregnant more than once, just like you have possibly brothers and sisters, some of you. These ones, the piglets have lots and lots of brothers and sisters because at first they have maybe 10 or 12 brothers and sisters, and then their mother can also get pregnant again and have more babies too, just like your mom.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Speck. It's time to wrap up our second Google Hangout of the year. Farm Bureau has provided you with a pork ag mag that gives you some great information. Please be sure to take it home and read it and share it with your family. Thank you very much to all of our teachers and students who participated today, and Jennifer Barnett for her work scheduling and trial runs with the teachers. Thanks to Ohio Farm Bureau, Ohio Pork Council, and everyone who made this experience possible. And a special thanks goes out to Dr. Speck. She's got a lot of responsibilities and a lot of farmers to work with, so we're really grateful that she took the time to share and do this. I would encourage any of you classes that would like more information about farms. There's a website, ohiopork.org, and we've got many more videos inside of the farms. And as you know, sometimes you can see video a little bit better on a website like that than over the internet. But this is so neat. This is the first time I've ever gotten to see a barn over the internet. So what a neat opportunity for all of us. Teachers, please be sure to go online and sign up for future Farmtastic Ag Ventures. There'll be bees on January 9th, water on March 13th, soil and trees on April 10th, and pizza pizzazz on May 8th. For more information, go to agventures.hangout@gmail.com. And remember, agriculture produces the house you live in, the chair you sit on, the clothes you wear, the food you eat, and the job where you work. We'll see you next time, and we hope you have a great day. Thank you.